Today I want to talk about how filmmakers appeal to and entice a certain audience, specifically the appeal of something rather difficult, and that is how to portray death and the grief of death in a constructive way. On December 14, 2012, a lone gunman stormed into Sandy Hook Elementary School, killing 20 children, 6 adults, and propelling the nation into anguish. 4 years following the tragedy, filmmaker Kim Snyder released her acclaimed, deeply haunting documentary film, Newtown. Though the subject matter of Newtown is disturbing, the film deals with death in a respectful way, focusing on the heartfelt accounts of the community members affected. Snyder, as a filmmaker, makes careful, conscious directorial decisions, such as not including graphic, explicit imagery in her piece, and using specific shots to connect the viewer to the community of Newtown. Through these decisions, Snyder is able to appeal to a certain audience, one of which further establishes her film as a form of comprehension for individuals and a catalyst for change. As individuals, we are attracted to images of violence and suffering. This is not necessarily because they elicit feelings of compassion, but because it is in our innate desires to be fascinated by their display. This desire is fueled by the increased availability and prevalence of violent and grotesque images in mass media today. We see this in our most popular films and television shows that showcase such graphic and gruesome deaths. We have become desensitized to these images by our own hands, searching and yearning for violent imagery that will elicit a shock factor, an image that will give us the next adrenaline rush. Snyder's ability to refrain from appealing to this hunger is clearly shown through her directorial decisions in the documentary. There are multiple instances throughout the film that offer the opportunity to show graphic imagery, but instead Snyder employs creative, innovative techniques to portray her message. Specifically, in one interview account in the film, Snyder focuses on first responder to the shooting, Bill Cario. Nothing about this frame shot is graphic, however she keeps the camera on him after he has stopped speaking to capture emotion.
His teacher's arm was around him.
And though it isn't graphic, it is most certainly hard to watch. She deviates from the grotesque again near the beginning of the film, using text messages instead of graphic imagery to tell a story. These moments allow Snyder to take the focus away from the explicit details of the shooting, instead using the powerful, heart-wrenching accounts of someone who did witness the explicit details. Because she never shows the viewer images depicting bodies of the children and adults killed, she avoids enticing viewers who have come for a spectacle, instead grabbing the attention of an audience who mourns and craves to comprehend. In this way, her film becomes incited by the emotions of the subjects interviewed rather than the shock factor of violence. Snyder also shows an unbelievable ability to make her film relatable, taking the audience deep into the community of Newtown through picturesque establishing shots and interviews with family members. For instance, the film opens to various shots of a town parade. These establishing shots, which are applied with slow motion for dramatic effect, serve to portray Newtown as ordinary and similar to any other town in the U.S. In fact, it isn't until the sixth shot of this opening sequence that Snyder reveals the location of the town. Up to this point, Snyder only reveals fragments of the town name. This delayed identification allows the audience to identify with and look for similarities between Newtown and their own town. Furthermore, before interviewing each subject, Snyder is sure to capture establishing shots of their house and them doing activities. She then takes the audience into the homes of the community members using close, intimately framed shots when interviewing, in an effort to make these subjects as relatable as possible. Through these techniques, Snyder is able to move the viewer towards comprehension. While we may feel grief and compassion towards the affected community members of Newtown, we can also begin to understand their pain because Snyder makes them to be relatable. This comprehension is important because it creates individuals that ache for positive social change. Feeling sorrow for someone's situation is an entirely individualistic form of thought. However, being able to convey and feel others' pain motivates us to enact change and raise awareness. Ultimately, Snyder has created and appealed to an audience that won't forget. By focusing on emotion over explicit violence, she has avoided enticing viewers more interested in shock value, and through conscious framing and various other cinematic decisions, she has made her film entirely relatable. The sentient accounts of Daniel Barden's father, the harrowing words of the school janitor, the people of Newtown become ingrained in the mind of the viewer. It's something we can never get used to, and that is her goal.